Hi guys, I'm Bailey Branscombe, and this is my social, emotional, and behavioral development project. I am writing this for colleagues at the school I work at. I am a paraprofessional, but this could be shown to teachers or paraprofessionals, anyone that works at the school. This is for grades 3 through 5th. It was hard to find stuff for the 5th grades. I work with 5th graders at the school I work with, so some of this stuff was a little bit childish, but I feel like I found some ways that we can maybe amp it up to be more their age group. I want to start off with this quote I found. Teachers affect eternity. No one can know where their influence stops, by Henry Brooks Adams. And that quote really stood out to me because a teacher's effect can go on forever. It never ends. And so the way we influence these children in their social, emotional, and behavioral development is vital for their rest of their lives. And some of these kids don't really have great home lives, as I've seen in working at the school, and they don't have someone there to teach them social skills or to teach them how to handle their emotions or to teach them how to act right. And so they come to school and they don't really know how to do that kind of stuff, so it's up to us to teach them how to do that kind of stuff. So, what is social development? Social development is just how kids form relationships, how they talk to each other. It's important to teach kids social skills. Some students don't know how to carry on conversations with another student, and they kind of just say weird off the wall things because they don't know how to communicate with another student, and they get anxiety about it. So that's social development. Emotional development is how to handle your emotions, and to teach students how to have self-control, and to control their anger, or when it's okay to cry, and when you can be happy. And some kids don't know when it's okay to show their emotions. And behavioral development is understanding how to act appropriately. Some children that don't have someone at home telling them that that's not okay to do something like that, or they get in trouble too much at home. And so it's kind of nice to have a little um, a median of what's good behavior at school and what's expected at school. This is good in classroom management, to have your behavioral charts and how you want them to act. So the first thing is the environment. Um, there was a statistic that I found that says the paper published in the journal Building and the Environment found that classroom design could be attributed to a 25% impact, or positive or negative, on a student's progress over the course of that academic year. Um, so this is really crazy to me because these students, they just the classroom alone can have this much of a fourth of an impact on what they're going to learn, whether it's a positive impact and they love it and it helps them to thrive, or it's a negative impact. So some of the things that I just kind of think about when I think about positive and negative impacts is like some teachers have really cluttered rooms, and then you get students in there with autism, slight autism or something like that, or they just can't handle the clutter like that, and it makes them be really uptight and anxious. So it's really important for teachers to understand that that stresses students out, and to declutter your rooms. Or working at the school, I've even seen teachers who they have shelves built into their room, and they've taken a curtain rod and kind of put it across that shelf and draped a curtain over, so it's still a little cluttered behind that shelf, but they've hid it so that the students don't have to see that clutter, because it does affect them, and that sometimes they can't focus because they're so worried about that mess that you have. Um, Another thing was having inspirational posters and bright posters up. Better than just having, now you don't want to clutter and go too far, but it's better than having your walls just be plain and bare. The children need a fun, happy environment to learn in, to where they want to learn and they're eager to learn. So it's important to have your classroom decorated in a fun way. Another one was the groups for social interaction. I've seen this at my school that I work at before. I didn't really find any statistics on this, but it seems to work really well at the school I work at. But the desks are arranged in a group of 5 that make a U shape. There's 2, and then the one in the middle, and then 2 on the other side. And then they have like one of the 3-drawer pull-outs that you can get from Walmart, where that 6th desk could go. and it's got like scissors and glue and crayons and their folders and all that in it, so that way they don't have to go to some part of the room to get that and those supplies. It's just at their table, so they're always right around that table. um, so they have a supply station at each table. Sorry. I think it's important to change where they sit often. Students at the beginning of the year, they might not be as close because, this person might have had this teacher last year and this person might have had this teacher last year. But, as the year goes on, some of the students kind of start to group together and form together a little bit more, and you don't want to let those other students get left out. So it's important to switch up how you have your children seated often, so that way they can all interact with each other and everyone can be working on that social interaction. I have designated areas. I mean, this is in like designated a library for your books, or an area for computers or iPads, a little quiet area, or just different areas where they know where the items are located at that area. So strategies to promote a healthy classroom. I found this one website and it had 7 strategies for building a positive classroom, and I really enjoyed this website. So the first one was making learning relevant, and that means just make learning vital. Like make it something that they know they have to have. And to make it relevant, you need to adjust your teaching strategies. At the beginning of the year, you're just kind of learning your students, but after you learn your students and you learn which ones are learn better different ways, then it's important to adjust the teaching for those students a little bit, so that way everyone is getting what they need. The second one was create a classroom code of conduct, and that was just how to act. In the website, I think it said something about the teacher asked the students how they wanted to be treated by the teacher and how they wanted to be treated by their peers, and the students answered the questions, and then they kind of made a classroom rules list based on that. I'm sure the teacher already had some classroom rules that they were for sure going to put on that, but just to kind of let them feel as if they had a say in it. And that's really important, because then they stick to it a little bit better if they feel like they had some type of influence on it. Teach positive actions. That one was to teach everyone, like there was all different ones. I had to write them down because there's so many. To feel good about yourself. Teach them to be positive about themselves and their self-confidence. To be positive about their health, like going to bed early and eating a good breakfast, and eating their fruits and vegetables, and teaching them to have positive influences on their body and the things that go into it. Positive intellectual actions. Teach them to be positive in their thinking, and when they're trying to think strategically and more in depth, that they need to be positive about themselves. Positive self-management about their time they spend and not procrastinating. And then positive about getting along with others, treating others how you would want to be treated. Having honesty, being honest with each other and with the teachers and with their peers. It's important to be honest so that people will trust you, and to improve their self throughout the year, to be positive about how they can improve themselves throughout the year. The next one was instill intrinsic motivation. This one I liked because it's all about positive thoughts. It's all about motivation, and I think that children thrive off of motivation. From what I see where I work, there's certain kids at my school that they just don't get that praise at home, and so if you're like, you're doing great, you could keep going, they thrive off of it. They love it. They just eat that up, and they need it. They need someone motivating them. So in the next one was reinforce positive behaviors. This can be from behavior charts, stickers, just something to where you tell them they have good behavior. Engage positive role models. This could either be like letting the students be the role models in the classroom and having classroom leaders, or looking at people in the community and in the world that we look up to that are positive role models, and you as yourself as a teacher being a positive role model, and don't do things that you wouldn't want your students to see you doing. I mean, when you go to Walmart or you go out to eat, remember that your students could be watching you anywhere, and be a positive role model. And then just always be positive. Teach your children that it's better to be positive. It makes you healthier to be positive. Everyone that's healthier is happier and more positive. So that was just all about basically just being positive, and I think that's really important to a healthy classroom. So those are some strategies that you could use to help be healthy in your classroom. So activities, I found some different activities. I found a social development activity, 2 emotional development activities, and then a behavioral development activity. So we'll look at those. The social development, it was called a conversation station. This would probably work better for 3rd grade. This is the kind of spot where I was getting to, where I was thinking you kind of have to differentiate based on the grade you're with, 3rd through 5th grade. 3rd graders, you could put these words out there. And for the conversation station, when I read online, they put these words out there, like it says duck, farm, horse, and it could either be tied to a book, or they could put just words out there that are just conversation starters, and they let the kids go there, sit, and talk. It does them so much good just to sit and talk. You don't realize some of these kids come from homes where they don't have any brothers and sisters, and their parents are too busy for them, and they don't ever just get to talk to anyone. So these, giving them, you don't want to just tell them to be quiet all day long. I mean, they need that chance. I know they get it at recess and at lunch, but they need that chance to talk. So you let them go to the station. You can even make them talk about the subject that you're working on, whether it's math or science or social studies or reading. Just give them a chance to speak with each other. I was thinking you could tie this into older grades with a reading comprehension thing. Just whichever book you're working on, have them go and just discuss that book and what's happening in that book. The next one I had was emotional development. This one was called Play Mood Charades, and in this game there's different charades, as you can see in the bucket: uncertain, confused, frustrated, confident, hopeful, and the students get to act these out for each other. And so whenever the students act these out for each other, they can see what it looks like when someone else does that. So maybe next time they get frustrated, they'll be like, well, I don't want to look silly like that, so I won't do that, or stuff like that. It just helps them to get a better idea of what it looks like when they act like that. The self-esteem cube. This cube was really neat. I thought it just builds there. It's just a fun little activity, and you could even turn it into a writing activity. But the cube, it says I'm really good at, I'm great because, and the kids get to say the things about themselves that they enjoy, which is nice because they need to build themselves up too sometimes. And the behavioral development, this was behavior bingo, and this was more of a behavior chart for in a classroom, but I really enjoyed this one because there's different magnets, and as the children get noticed for having good behavior, the teacher would say, go put a spot on the behavior bingo chart for having good behavior or doing something you're supposed to without anyone having to tell you. And the students move it, and once they get a bingo in one way, they get a free day or a fun day or something. I don't, whatever the teacher prefers. So I thought that was pretty nice to instill positive behavior in the students and give them an initiative for that. So the techniques that I found were assess often. The students need to be assessed, and even without doing that, without a formal assessment, you could just do a KWL, just anything to get them strategically thinking, to write what they know, what they want to know, and what they've learned, just to write. And then participate. The teachers need to make these situations apply to real world situations when they're giving them problems, so then the students can work on their problem solving. And then, like I said about the conversation station, it's important to let them engage in conversation about educational things that matter, and they need to talk with each other, and they need to have that conversation. And then this was my supportive websites. These are all my bibliographies. So that is all, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.